Hi, I recently created for my Instagram feed these emoji animations, and although I created the animations myself, the models were created by a fellow designer called Adam Bonnie, and here's his Instagram. As you can see, he's got really lovely work, but he created this emoji pack which he has for sale on Gumroad. He's graciously created a demo pack that's available for download, and the link is in the description below, where you can follow along with these tutorials. So in tutorial 1, this one will show you how to create the crying animation, and then in maybe the next tutorial we'll look at the other 2 animations. If you wanted to actually buy the full pack, if you go to his Gumroad page, you can get the demo pack for free, but you can also get the full pack of all of the icons, 35 emojis. They're available for $30, but if you use the code EMO, E-M-O, you can get $10 off and get it for $20. So I'm not being sponsored for this at all, I'm just kind of supporting a fellow artist, so definitely check out his links below. So let's get on with that crying animation. Right, so once you've downloaded the free demo pack from Adam's Gumroad account, you can see we have these 5 emojis, and to start with we're going to animate the crying tears emoji. So let's copy that, we'll create a new file, paste him in, and then I'm going to go to like a front view. I'll add in a camera. I just want to zoom in, and I'm going to change to tele mode. Now, because we're viewing this so big and in such high detail, I'm just going to smooth out a couple of these edges, and we can do that quite easily. So we can get rid of the tears, and let's just bring in some smoothing, and let's just add that to the teeth, the base and the eyebrows, and let's just smooth that all out. So now we can bring in our tears. So that's quite a simple procedure. We're going to do that using Mograph. So first off, we're going to create a rectangle, standard 400 by 400. I'm going to make that editable, and then if I go into another view, go into perspective mode, go to point mode. Actually want to, on the rectangle, just turn off close spline, and then just delete these points. So we've just got a straight line that is 400 high. I'm going to click on the rectangle, and I'm just going to reset the axis so that it's centered to the line. So we've got kind of a control of that from the correct point. So let's bring that in, go to another view, make sure it's roughly centered. I'm going to bring this down so it's kind of like cutting into his head, which is where our tears are going to start. And I probably want to go into a side view. This kind of, we look kind of like bring this kind of closer to the front. Right, so let's create a Mograph cloner, and we're going to create a cube, and this is what the tears are made up of. We're just going to call this tears, and then our cube, our initial cube, we're going to make this 30 by 10 by 56, and then we're going to add a fillet on there, and we'll just leave it at the standard settings. And for our cloner, we're going to change this from linear to object, and our object will be that rectangle. So maybe we'll just call this like tears line. And underneath the count, I'm going to change that to 7. So now we've got this kind of first stream of tears. If we want to move this around, we're going to need to move the line, because that's controlling the position. So I just want to, now I can see this better, go into growled shading mode. I want to push this back into his head, just enough so it's kind of behind the eyebrow. And I'm going to group those 2. Actually, let's go, we'll create the group here so it kind of keeps it centered. So group, get the tears in, and we'll call this tears 1. I'm going to duplicate that group, bring that across, and for tears 2, I'm going to change this Z-axis to 19 in height, and the count I'm going to change to 20. So now we've got this kind of these dotted set of tears. And actually, I should have done this before, so let's just animate the first one, and then that will save the animation for the others. So I'll just go to the first set of tears. I'm going to control this with offset. So let's set a keyframe on frame 0, and then on frame 100 we'll go to 100, set a keyframe. So now our first and last frame are the same. Now for the second one, actually, we could set it to 0 to 100, but if we want them slightly offset, we could probably just change the offset amount here, or we could, another way of doing this is setting rate. We want to make sure that the rate will loop correctly, so we could try that to start with. If we just set a rate of like 10, you'll see that it will start animating. We want to make sure that when it gets to the end, oh, there you go, so that fits perfectly. So let's go to the dope sheet, and under the first set of tiers, I'm just going to make that linear. Obviously the rate is linear, it's constant. Now we can see that that is looping around. With that done, let's duplicate tiers 2 to tiers 3, and then this one we'll change our cube size again. Let's make this 40 in the height, and then the count, we'll take that down to 10, and then we can move that group along. And then let's have a look. That will obviously have that same rate of 10. Maybe let's change this to 20. I want to see how that loops. So it's kind of going similar to that. It does loop correctly. So we could maybe up that to 30. Yeah, so then now we've got 3 different like speeds going on. So I'm gonna group all these objects, and we'll call this tiers left. Right, now we've obviously got this problem where they're popping in at the top. Now you could put these in a ball, but the problem you'd have with putting these in a ball is that seems to overwrite any random colorness that we want to add onto these. We can apply material, but we'll just make these all one solid color. So that is the kind of quick way of kind of masking out what's going on at the top. But unfortunately, that, from what I can tell, that means you get rid of the ability to be able to actually put random colors. It kind of, the ball then makes this think it's like one object. So to get around that, we're going to just add on an effector. So we're going to select all of them, go to Mograph, Effectors, add a plane effector. Under the parameters, rather than position, we're going to set uniform scale and absolute -1. And we're going to set a fall off linear field. We're going to scale this down and then just rotate that like -90. And then I just want to kind of set this at the top of tiers here. Yeah, probably like that. So we're kind of avoiding seeing them pop out of the top. And if I go into a side view, you see they're set quite a way back, but we could see, basically we just have to see how far we can bring it forward, see, without them appearing. So maybe something like that. Okay. We'll probably make them less deep and then put a second set in, so we can easily adjust that just by selecting all 3 of these, and maybe in the Y we'll set this to 5. No, wrong one. Set this to 15. So we've just made those thinner as well. Maybe we can bring those all forward a tiny amount, just enough so we don't actually see it. So that's cool. Okay, so that's that bit of animation done. Then what I might do is just zoom out a little, pull up, just so we kind of see more of the tiers. And I want to add in another linear field. So this one I'm going to call linear field top. I'm going to duplicate that, or this linear field base. And this one I'll rotate the other way, so we'll rotate that 90. And you'll see it's having no effect. That's because if we go to the plane effector, we've just got the top in there. So let's bring the base in as well. And now we're just seeing obviously the effect of that base. So what we want to do is just set the base to add. So it's adding 2 together. Let's just stop. Set that to 90, not plus 90, minus 90. And then I'm just going to make this a lot wider. Bring it down to the bottom, and then we've got our tears kind of coming out of his face. So with that done, let's just duplicate that, call it tears right, then we're just going to move that across. Now what you could do here is you could change the sizes of these, and then obviously change the rate and the offset, the variation, just so you get some randomness in there basically. Or you could just quite simply just twist this over, maybe have something like that. So that being said, I'm going to actually copy these again, duplicate them, and I think I will rotate these 180. And then I'm going to set those behind and bring those down maybe, and that just gives us kind of an additional kind of set of tiers going on. There's something else going on in the background basically, so we've got kind of multiple layers. So with that being done, let's save, and we'll call that crying emoji. Yep. And what I want to do is group all of these together along with the tiers, and we'll call this crying, and we can add on some general animation to the whole thing. So I'm just going to add on a vibrate tag, regular pulse, enable position. I'm going to say like 5 in the Y, and the frequency maybe 0.25. So over 4 seconds, it will do 1 up and down motion. And additionally to that, I'm going to enable rotation, and maybe we'll put like 5 degrees of rotation. I'll make that 0.25 as well. So now we've got this rotation on the Y and also the up and down, and that's basically our animation. So what we can do is let's just hide the effectors with this saved. Let's just add in a background, and this will be used for all 3 animations. Kind of set up our scene for Octane, but also I'll show you the colors I use for creating this guy. So if you you know, if you want to use the normal cinema materials, at least you can use the same color codes basically. Let's make this 200 by 200, and let's add in a bend, center that to the plane. I'm going to change the strength to 90, and you want to move this through -90 to get our stage bend. And let's rotate that whole thing at -90, and then let's just position it so it's kind of offset back from the guy, so we're not going to get some like harsh shadows or something. Let's set it about there. Then I might just hide that bend back down. I'll just call that stage. Okay, cool. So now we can probably just set up, center him up. Now we can just set up the materials and lighting. So let's open up Octane, and let's see what we're dealing with to start off with. So there he is. Let's set a lock on there just so I can kind of see this. It's at half size. I'm rendering this at 1000 by 1250. Now what we want to do first is bring in a HDRI. So let's go to Objects, HDRI Environment. Now this one I downloaded for free actually from the Pixel Lab. So this one I downloaded for free from Polygon. So you can grab this HDRI for free. I'll put the link down below. I'm going to up the power maybe 2 on this. Maybe we'll just rotate it around just so I've got such a harsh edge. Yeah, okay. So I'll add that in, and then we'll play around with the lighting. So let's add on a camera tag to our camera, and we'll set up these materials. So they're very simple ones. So let's go Object, Materials. We'll set up a glossy. We'll call this like teeth, and guess what this is going to be. Go to our emoji, stick our teeth on, do a new glossy material. We'll just call this black. This is basically for the eyes and the eyebrows. So for that diffuse, Take that right down. Let's add that onto the eyebrows and the eyes. And you know, it's quite shiny. I'm gonna adjust that in a second. I just want to get the colors all set up. So let's do another glossy. We'll call this one main. So this is kind of like the yellow. That kind of like emoji. It's like a yellowy, orangey color. That's 34 by 58 by 96. This is what I used. Let's just drag that onto his face. Again, he's very shiny. So we'll adjust that in a moment. We'll set up the background. So let's do we'll just do a diffuse material for the background. And we'll change the color of this to 226 by 36 by 96. So I wrote these down just to see what I'd done in my original animation. There you go. So that's that on there. Just going to adjust this HDRI. Let's just kind of rotate this around, get more like diffuse light. I think I'll add a couple of lights in. So let's go to, with nothing selected. Actually, no, I'll select the our base. I want the lights to point directly at the guy. So let's go objects, lights, targeted area light. So it's these lights are going to target at his face. Let's zoom out. And I'm going to bring kind of one over here. And then another, duplicate that and have another one over here. Now I'm just going to change the settings of these slightly. So bring that around. I don't want it at the front, I want it kind of on the side. Same over here. So the one on the left, I'm going to take the power down to 25 maybe, and I'm going to kind of make this, the temperature of this kind of a bit more in the like red zone. And then on the other side, I'm going to take this right down, especially because we've got existing light, to about 8. And then I'm going to bring the temperature up. So if you go this way, it's more blue. If you go this way, it's more red. I'm just going to bring this up to like, I don't know, 11,000. I think that's how we're getting that kind of nice kind of gradiated background color. I'm going to save that. So we want to sort out these materials a little bit, and also maybe change the overall exposure here. So I'm just going to click the camera, maybe go into camera imager, and then in here we can see we can up the exposure, change the gamma, kind of get this lightness looking how we want. So maybe I want it like that. Let's go to our black, and what I'm going to do is just go to roughness and just bring this right up, kind of give it this more kind of like rubbery sort of texture. And then for the main material of the guy, let's go into the node editor, and I'll shift this along so we can see what is being done while I'm doing it. Let's bring in an image texture. And if I widen this out, this smudge texture, smudges large 001, this is also available for free on Polygon. So again, there'll be a link down below. If I drag that into the roughness, you see it's kind of made it all rough at the moment. It's because this is quite light. We need to kind of change the gradient a little bit. So let's add a gradient. And with the gradient, we can kind of crush the levels and make it, some of it shiny and some of it rough. To be able to see what we're doing, we can go to solo node, and then we can kind of play around with these. So we can kind of, actually, let's bring this up. We want to increase that contrast. Right, label that. You can kind of see here, we've got like some shiny bits and some rougher bits. Solo that again. And we should be able to pick up a little bit on that as it's moving around. Okay, so that's that done. There's one thing I forgot to do on the tears, which I probably should have done before I made all of these duplicates. I'm going to delete the back ones. You know, you can just do this sooner, hopefully. But what I want to do, I just need to select all of these tiers. Tiers 1, tiers 2, yeah. And we want to go to Mograph effector and add a random. And this isn't to make it all explode apart. This is just to give us a random selection of blues for those tiers. So I'm just going to choose effector color. See, we've got these random colors here. They're not showing here, but we're going to actually use that information to create a random gradient of blues. With that, I'm just going to duplicate these again quickly. Rotate them around 180 and then do what I did before. I'm just going to push them back, pull these down. Okay, right, so let's create those tiers. So let's create a new glossy material. We'll call this one tiers, and then actually want to make sure that's applied to everything. Again, I should have probably done this before. Add that onto all of those cloners. Obviously, if you do it to the first cloner, then you won't have to do it like this way, but that only took a second. Okay, so with those all on, let's go into the node editor, and then we can get a Mograph color shader, and then a gradient. Octane gradient. Let's take the shader into the gradient, then the gradient into the diffuse channel. And you see at the moment it's taking a gradient of, you see our gradient of white to black. So we just want a gradient of blues. So we can use a preset to kind of get a pre-existing gradient and amend it. So you can choose any colors you want. I'm going to load this preset, and down here I'm going to get this Sky 2 preset. And I'm just going to delete the lightest of the colors here. So I'm just left with 4. And then I'm going to say distribute knots. So it's just evenly distributed. And I might want to lighten these all up in general. So what I might add is a color correction. Bring that in. And here I could just up the brightness. So we can up this to like a little. You can up these quite a lot. And up these 1.5. You know, we can play around with the hue, make these a bit more greeny. Maybe up the saturation a tiny amount. Reduce it. Yeah, like that. And then the gamma, I'll probably leave that as it is. Actually, we'll up the saturation. Yeah, cool. So that is basically our crying emoji animation. Now in the next tutorial, I'll follow this up with the how to do the rotating emojis, and maybe we'll do in that one also the kind of heaven, hell, the halo animation. But for now, I hope you have fun with this, and make sure you download Adam's pack and have fun. Okay, I'll see you next time. Bye.